Hello and welcome to the Strong, Healthy, Happy podcast. My name is Debra. I'm chuckling to myself because if you could have just seen me about 5 minutes ago, bearing in mind what I'm going to be talking to you about, I think you would be laughing at me, perhaps with me. I'm not sure. I'm going to tell you what has just happened to me. But before I do, I want to share with you the podcast episode, which I've titled Why I Feel Guilty That I Haven't Struggled in Menopause and Why I'm Sharing It. What relevance or interest is it to you? And how is it going to help you in your own journey through perimenopause, menopause, or postmenopause? And let me just, before I crack on with the episode and tell you what I'm going to be talking about and how it's going to help you, because just a reminder that this podcast is all about helping women, particularly in midlife. It will be relevant to all women of all ages. But, I'm 55 myself. And so I tend to attract many clients in the demographic of sort of 40 to 60. I have clients younger and I have clients older. But bearing in mind, I'm going to talk about why I haven't struggled in menopause. I notice, and if you're an avid listener, you will probably have noticed as well, that the sound quality of my previous episode, maybe even a few episodes, when I've recorded them myself in my usual location in my office, have been really poor quality. And I couldn't understand what was going wrong. I've got my microphone plugged in, it's a decent microphone. And, I've checked the dials, are they set to the right place? And I just sort of did a test of the dials set in all different locations to see if it made a difference to the quality of the recording. And then I listened to it back and I'm thinking, it just sounds awful. What is going on? What is going on? And then I looked at my microphone and I noticed the stand. So it has like a 3-legged stand with the microphone on. It's quite a big microphone. And I thought the 3-legged stand is not the usual way it used to be, that like the bigger 2 legs used to be at the back and now they're at the front. And how's this happened? And then I realized, the penny dropped, that my microphone is back to front and I've been talking to it with the microphone at the back. And what I've been talking into is not the actual microphone, it's the back of the microphone. And a couple of weeks ago, I dropped the microphone and it kind of jarred its positioning and I just kind of twisted it back into place. And obviously now I realize that I've twisted it the wrong way. And bearing in mind that I'm talking about why I haven't struggled in menopause, is that a brain fog moment or is it just a moment of stupidity? I don't know. But the main thing is I've sorted it and the sound quality is hopefully going to be better. The other thing I've done is I've put on headphones today, and I'm going to share with you why I've put on headphones today. So this may be the 100th episode. If not, I've held it back to do after the 100th episode. But basically, I've recorded 100 episodes. And after my first introduction episode about who I am and why I'm starting this podcast, I talked about how you don't start good. And I likened me starting a new podcast, never having podcast recorded before, never talked to myself by myself to a screen on my own, unless I'm obviously with a guest or interviewing someone, and how I likened my journey into becoming a good podcaster to your health and fitness and weight loss goals, and how you're going to make mistakes along the way, and how, things aren't always linear, and how it's about being consistent, not aiming for perfection, and how this is what I was going to apply to my podcast in the same way that you're going to apply and my clients apply to their health and fitness journey. It's not about being perfect. And I sort of give you, I talk you through the setup, the start. And then what I realized from listening to this podcast is that on episode 2, my son, who is a content creator, he doesn't help me with anything, by the way. I wish he had the time to. And he said to me, Mum, you need to be wearing headphones to record your podcast. And I did for quite a few episodes. And then I felt like I was like too enclosed, and I didn't like the feeling of wearing headphones. So I stopped wearing headphones. But it was only when I listened back to this episode number 2 that I realized the quality was so much better. And so I've put them back on again. And I'm not going to talk about, like, I've got so much to share with you, but I'm going to save it for my sort of podcast milestone recording that I'm going to be doing with the lovely Kate, who interviewed me and asked me questions that were put out to my clients, my followers, and anybody that wanted to ask me questions to celebrate the 50th episode. And Kate said to me on that episode, "Oh, I'm going to join you. Let's do the 100th." And so that's what we're doing. Now, it might be 101 or it could even be 102. But the most important thing is it's going to be my milestone episode. And it doesn't mean that I've got to the final destination, a bit like your health and fitness journey. It's celebrating a milestone along the way, as long as every time I upload an episode, for me, that's a small stepping stone, just like the small stepping stones that you have in your own health and fitness journey. But anyway, I'm already giving away some of the things we're going to talk about. So I'm going to crack on with this episode about why I feel guilty that I haven't struggled in menopause and why I'm sharing it, what relevance to you, how's it going to help you, ultimately, how it's going to help you. I haven't planned anything because I want to keep this really authentic and genuine. And I pride myself on always being honest and authentic and not trying to be somebody else or be influenced by anybody else. I try not to look at anybody else in terms of other coaches, especially those with a similar demographic to me. I just want to focus on me, my coaching, and the information that I want to share with you. And I haven't even written any notes because I just want it to be genuine and authentic. And to start with, why am I talking about this? And is it me bragging? Like, why am I talking about this? And I want to share with you that I have talked about this previous, but just in case you're just joining on this episode and you haven't listened to previous episodes, I started HRT in my mid 40s. And the reason why I started on HRT is my mum was a similar age. I might have been 44, but 44, 45, mid 40s. My mum started HRT also at a similar age. And I noticed brain fog was probably one of the symptoms that I do struggle with. But again, I don't know if that's just being a busy person, very distracted, or whether it's a thing with perimenopause. But I was driving through my village and there are zebra crossings and people crossing everywhere, really, not even on the zebra crossings. And I was going somewhere, and it was one of those car journeys where you aren't really present. You kind of know where you're going. You get to the destination and you don't remember the journey. And on that journey through my local village, I didn't run anybody over, and I stopped in good time, but I quite easily could have gone pear-shaped had I not noticed this person step into the road. And it really gave me a shock because potentially I could have run her over. And it was through my lack of focus and attention and what I believed at that time and quite possibly was brain fog. And so I came home from that incident, like luckily it wasn't an incident, a potential incident. And I phoned my doctor, and we're going back 10 years. And luckily the doctor I saw was very au fait with menopause. She didn't poo-poo it, send me out the office with antidepressants. She actually prescribed me tablet form HRT. And I'm now on patches. And has my brain fog got any better? I'm going to be talking about that. But I don't want you to think that the purpose of this episode is for me to tell you how amazing I feel, how I don't struggle, and, what's wrong with everybody else, because it's not about minimizing anybody else's struggles or symptoms that they're experiencing. And I coach many women going through perimenopause, and I know those struggles are real. And I know that they can be very debilitating in day-to-day life. And like, it's not about minimizing those. It's about, like, the same way I'm helping my clients, and they are really noticing the differences from coaching and from my guidance. But I just wanted to just talk about it because I never really talked openly about how I felt through perimenopause. And I have, close friends. I have a lot of clients. I have women that I speak to in day to day life or that contact me for advice. Women everywhere basically are talking about the struggles in menopause. And I've always kept quiet or try to expand on maybe a smaller symptom that I might experience and make it worse just to fit in because I felt really guilty. And it's almost like, in life, when there's something that the majority of people struggle with, you always get a small percentage that perhaps don't struggle. I know this is likened with childbirth. You always hear about the terrible birthing stories that were so awful and lasted 3 days, ended in cesarean and didn't go well. But what you don't hear about are the pregnancies that were smooth and easy, because people don't want to know about those easy. Oh, it was easy. It happened in a few hours. I didn't struggle. I did it naturally. Like, we don't hear about the less dramatic stories, the easier stories, in the same way that menopause, there's been lots and very, very much needed more focus on menopause, programs on TV. The conversation is so much more now about perimenopause. It's becoming mainstream conversation. Men are more aware of the symptoms that women are struggling with and how that affects them and the family and what women are going through. And it's fantastic that we are talking about it more. But nobody wants to really hear about someone who isn't really struggling. And so I have kept it very quiet. And funnily enough, must be about over a year or so ago, I joined a business mentorship, especially for coaches within the health and fitness industry, all different types of coaches, medical practitioners, all different types of people, but within this space. And I remember saying to my mentor, like, I don't know how to post content and empathize with women struggling in menopause when I'm not really struggling myself. Now, that doesn't mean I don't have empathy. I have many clients. I have empathy. I have understanding. I have compassion. And I have solutions and methods and strategies as well that are helping my clients. But I didn't want to make things up that I felt awful, because I didn't. I just didn't know what to say. So I didn't say anything. And I remember my mentor saying to me, talk about the fact that you don't struggle. And I thought about it for ages, and I thought, she's got a really great point here. I do need to talk about it. But I still didn't know how to talk about it. And so I still didn't. And, yes, I've shared content of me training and me on holiday and me just going about my life. And, you can see that I'm in good health, but I never focused on the fact that I'm feeling great and I'm thriving through menopause. And it's only in the last few weeks that I've really started to title my content more focused on feeling good in menopause and how you can thrive in menopause as well. And I do wholeheartedly, truly believe, hand on heart, if you're looking at me visually, you'll see my hand is on my heart, believe that all women can change the way that they currently feel. Now, what I am going to do is just tell you the few symptoms that I do sometimes struggle with. They're actually getting a little bit better. I've noticed. Now, the main symptoms I struggle with is brain fog. I've talked about that. Now, I take creatine, which is a supplement. It is the most researched and most natural supplement, and it deserves an episode on its own. And it's probably the only supplement, unless you're one of my clients, that you're not taking. You're probably taking everything else, but not creatine. It is the cheapest, easiest supplement to take, and you just take it every day. It's a scoop in powder form. It's called creatine monohydrate, and there are countless benefits and every reason to take it, with hardly any reasons not to take it. It's suitable for men, women, all ages, pregnant, old, menopause, everybody. Creatine is already found within your body, stored inside your muscles. We just don't produce enough of it. And one of the benefits of creatine is it helps with cognitive function, memory, brain function, multitasking. And so I take it. That's one of the supplements I take. And you will never really know whether a supplement works. It's usually when you stop taking it that you notice a bit of a change. And this did happen to me one holiday where I didn't want to I was going to Turkey and I didn't really want to, it's like a white powder. I didn't want to take it with me. I just thought like going through the airport with a tub of white powder was a bit suspect. So I didn't take it. And during that 2-week holiday, it was towards the end of the holiday that I noticed like I couldn't think as well. I couldn't function cognitively as well. And then I looked at my husband and said, oh my God, you know what? I haven't been taking creatine for almost 2 weeks. And it was only then that I realized that actually the benefit of taking it and how it helped me. But I tried to manage my cognitive function. My ability to multitask has definitely reduced. Is that because of perimenopause, or is that because I'm juggling multiple balls? I'm running a business. I'm constantly thinking about my business. But one of the things that I can no longer do is if I'm doing a concentrated task, whether I'm on my laptop, writing something out, thinking, on my phone, trying to create a post or the caption, the writing, I can see my kid, one of my kids has walked into the room. I can see them looking at me. I can see their mouth moving, but I can't actually hear what they're saying because I'm so concentrated. And then they get angry and they shout at me and they go, Mum, I'm talking to you. And I'm like, I know you're there. I can see you, but I can't hear you and I can't multitask. Now, I don't know if that would happen no matter what age I was, but maybe it is one of the symptoms of perimenopause is my ability to multitask has definitely reduced. So that's like one of the symptoms, but it doesn't really impact my day-to-day life. I'm pretty sharp. I do a lot of things. So, I'm not complaining. The other symptom is that at certain times of the month, because obviously our hormones are always fluctuating and in a constant state of flux, even with HRT. Yes, we're getting an influx of estrogen and progesterone, or dependent on what you're taking and the type of combination of HRT you're taking. Even though you're on that, if you're able to take it, your hormones are still, they're still in a flux. And at certain times of the month, and they tend to mirror when I would have a menstrual cycle as well, is that I get, hot and sweaty in bed. It's actually got a little bit better, I would say, in this past year, like the last 6 months. But I used to get really sweaty in bed, whereby, I'd have to change my bed, I'd have to change my pajamas, etc. But I think that's getting off quite lightly, 2 or 3 nights a month, compared to a lot of the debilitating symptoms many other women experience. I think I was getting off lightly. And then other than that, I don't really have any symptoms. I don't struggle with weight gain. Yes, my weight fluctuates. I'm human. That's normal. Sometimes I'm a bit more focused on my weight. And sometimes I don't really give a shit. I just want to enjoy my life, dependent where I am, what I'm doing. I sleep pretty well. Sometimes it's interrupted. Sometimes I struggle to sleep, but I try to manage that. And, like I say, I want to be honest, and I have shared with you where I'm at in myself. And how let's get to the point of how this is going to help you, because this isn't just about me. This is about you. And I want to help women feel better. And I'm going to be transparent about what I've done over the years to help you thrive in menopause and feel better in yourself. Now, where I find myself at this point in my life is an accumulation of what I've done for years and years and years. And I used to think back to, what I weighed on my wedding day, what size I used to be, how much I used to weigh when I had a memory, whether it was a holiday or a celebration. And I would always think like back and hanker after my old self and try and get back there. And then I changed my mindset. And it's only recently that I've realized this was one of the big mindset changes that I had. And that was, I'm not trying to get back to where I used to be. I'm on a journey to be my best self, my best future self. It hasn't been overnight. It hasn't been a few weeks. It hasn't been a few months. It's been years. It's taken me years to get to this point. And the women that I work with are also consistently working on this mindset shift of becoming the best person that they can be for their future self, not trying to go backwards to their past self. It's unrealistic. It's really not helpful. And it can leave you feeling very demoralized, and it's not very motivating. And you can't compare yourself to your previous self. Your life looked different then, and it's not something that you is helpful to you. So it's all about looking at where you are right now, today. What is it? How is it that you feel? What is it that you're not happy with? And how can we take those steps to go forwards to get closer to where it is that you want to be, how you want to feel, whether it be just in your health, your fitness, your weight, your body, yourself, just what do you need to do? And this is what I have taken on for the last 10 years. Now, at times within this past 10 years, I've taken things to the extreme when I did bodybuilding. And then I would say for the past, like since 2021, I have really focused more on my health, less about my weight, more on my health, more on my mindset, and more on the relationship I have with myself and how I can feel better every single day. And every day when I wake up, I always have a thought of what am I going to do today to help myself feel better? And it's not definitive. It's not the same thing every day, but there are certain fundamentals that I try to do each and every day. I don't try to be perfect. I don't try to do them all the time. Like sometimes, depending what's going on, it might change. But generally, it's about being very intentional with what I do in terms of my health, my mental well-being, my emotional well-being, my nutrition, my movement and my steps, my stress reduction, exercising. Strength training is essential. If you're not doing it, you're missing an important piece of the puzzle that not just benefits your health, but it benefits your mental resilience and your mental well-being way beyond what you can ever imagine. And it has taken me shifts in mindset, shifts in my approach with all of those things. And it's not about specifically what I do for all of those things to get to the place that I find myself at now. But thriving in menopause is absolutely possible. And I can honestly say at 55, I am feeling my healthiest, strongest, happiest self in a body that I live in every day. Sometimes it fluctuates in weight up, sometimes it goes down. But generally speaking, I'm in the best place than I've ever been. It's taken me a long time to get here, and I would honestly say that I feel way better than my past self, way more confident, happier, healthier, fitter, more comfortable in myself. I think that comes as well with age and experience, maturity, as well as working on myself. And I work on myself every single day in whatever format it looks like on that day. And I honestly say and it's one of the things I honestly say to myself every day is, what can I do today to feel better? And that better might be mentally, it might be emotionally, it might be physically. It depends on how I feel. But I have I like routine, and I tend to function better with routine. It leaves less to chance. And I've built and developed the habits, and routine is one of the habits that I help my clients establish, dependent on their life and how their life looks and what they want to achieve. But I think it's really important to hear more from women who are feeling strong and vibrant and confident, to enable and inspire you to know that change is possible. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, it's easy for you, you're a coach, or it's easy for you, you've been doing this for years. Like yes, in some respects, it is easier for me. I live, eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff. I coach it, I live it. But it hasn't always been easy. I have struggled along the way. I've talked about my struggles in previous episodes on this podcast. You know, I have had a poor relationship with food. I have done a lot of deep work to get to the point where I am now. And this is why I'm passionate about helping and inspiring other women. And when I coach other women, I don't coach them like myself. That would be really stupid. And that is not great coaching. I meet my client where they're at. I learn about them. I see how they live their life, what their routine or lack of routine looks like. And I infiltrate the way they live their life. And I come up with a strategy to help them feel their best self around the life that they live, not the life I live. I'm self-employed. I run my own business. That's not going to be very helpful to someone who's in a job that is a 9 to 5 and they're restricted by those hours. So it's about working with people on an individual basis. And whether that be their routine in their life, their nutrition preferences and choices, their own relationship with food. And sometimes this doesn't come up till much later in coaching, where we start to unravel, oh my God, you've got certain beliefs or thoughts around certain foods. You know, all food is inclusive. Nothing needs to be cut out. Nothing needs to be restricted. But I'm kind of going off on a tangent. But what I really, really want to sort of highlight to you is for you to reflect on your own experiences or current experience in perimenopause, and recognizing that you can make change. You do not have to be accepting of where you are now. Menopause doesn't mean, or perimenopause doesn't mean life is over, life gets shit, life is hard. Like, yes, it does get hard, things do get harder, but it's overcomable. Don't know if that's a word, but I like to use that word. And it's about working with yourself, not against yourself, and shifting the approach that you have, because what you did in the past, it ain't going to work this time. May have worked for you in your 20s, your 30s. It ain't going to work for you no more. You're different now. And we need to look at where you are and the steps you need to take to go forwards. Please know that you're not stuck. Please know the note that you can rewrite your future. You can change the way that you live your life and manage your lifestyle and all the elements of that lifestyle that I've talked about: health, mindset, nutrition, movement, exercise, all of those things, stress, sleep. They can be managed, they can be improved, they can be helped. You can be better supported. You just need to be shown how. Now, this isn't a sales pitch for me to say, and I'm the person that can help you. But I am the person that can help you, because who better to help you than someone in their mid-50s that is going through menopause herself. I may not have struggled as much as you are, but I am empathetic and compassionate and understanding. And I have proven over and over and over again with my clients that it is possible to feel your best ever self. How you feel right now is totally valid. And every woman is different. We are all individuals. But please know that you can thrive, and I can help you. And whether you take the advice, whether you're interested in coaching, or whether you listen to past episodes of this podcast, I did a 3-part mini series talking about, it was my health event. It's a 3-part mini series. Go and look for it. It's so helpful, and it will help shift the mindset that you already have, or that you need to shift to have to get the results and feel your best future self. You can thrive in menopause. If you're listening to this, you want to ask me questions. You don't want coaching, but you just want to ask me questions. My contact details are in the show note. So is the link to inquire about coaching. My social media is there as well. If this podcast has inspired you in any way, why don't you give me a rating on this podcast? And if you're not already following or subscribed, please do. And if you have a group of friends who would benefit from listening to my podcast, maybe not this episode, maybe all my other episodes, share my podcast with them, because my passion is to help as many women as possible feel stronger, healthier, and happier, just like the name of my podcast. Thank you for joining me, and I will catch up with you on the next one.